For his statement, and I give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation.
Thank you, Mr. President. We welcome Special Envoy Staffan de Mistura. Only 10 days ago, Staffan, we heard your briefing in this chamber, and it's hard to recall a practice in which UN mediators publicly briefed the Council about each contact they had with the parties to a given conflict or interested international players. Experience indicates that this source of work requires a great deal of patience, caution, and a very careful dose of public presence so as to not harm the matter at hand, and therefore we are not convinced that those who insisted on convening today's open meeting are really working for peaceful settlement in Syria. Instead of that, as was easy to suppose, there's been another show set up with tragic wails and moralizing against Russia. Now, on the Syrian track, there is clear activity. On the one hand, in the framework of Resolution 2254 of the Security Council, the United Nations is working. The Idlib agreement is being implemented. Our Turkish partners are working seriously on this. The guarantors of the Astana process are taking serious efforts to put an end to violence on the ground and create conditions for progress on the intra-Syrian dialogue track. This is difficult, but concrete achievements are evident. People in many parts of Syria are beginning to return to normal life and feel that they are in greater security. On the other hand, we have this solemnly seated group of self-titled examiners who have not made any noteworthy progress in the aforementioned settlement, but for some reason are trying to indicate what Russia is doing. We repeat that there are no grounds for establishing artificial deadlines for the establishment of the Constitutional Committee on the outcomes of the Sochi dialogue of Syrians. Conditions cannot be opposed that contradict the will of the Syrian parties themselves. Staffan's visit to Damascus upon the invitation of the Syrian government was a useful one on the path towards achieving the goals laid out in Sochi. We are confident that in the time remaining until the end of Staffan's term, he will leave no stone unturned to make progress on this area within his mandate as mediator with full respect for the sovereignty of Syria, and we will help him in doing that. The very fact that the Special Envoy went to Damascus is fundamentally important. But this is not the only thing happening on the track of the Syrian settlement. Recently in Moscow, there were consultations of the Astana Troika. Tomorrow in Istanbul, there will be the four-side summit, Turkey, Russia, Germany and France, in which the Special Envoy will also participate. Incidentally, according to our information and assessments, the visit to Damascus, Staffan's visit to Damascus, was extremely useful and constructive. We should not underestimate its importance and the momentum that this visit can give to the settlement process. At the same time, we warn those who would like to draw dubious dividends from artificially whipping up the crisis that it would be criminal and it would harm the political process. This first and foremost applies to the Western participants in the so-called small group. We are convinced that the UN Secretary-General and his Special Envoy understand the deep responsibility in this delicate matter, and we believe, Staffan, that your briefing today is not your political will, but in the time remaining until the end of your mandate, you can still do a lot. This is not your swan song. And we expect you to continue to work tirelessly on this. And once again, I'll repeat that we will do everything we can to assist you in that. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation.